Every city sells you a version of itself. Los Angeles sells you a version of you, tanner, thinner, richer, discovered. You saw the palm trees at golden hour and thought, that could be my life. And technically, it is. You just didn't read the part where the palm trees are on a median. The golden hour is smog, and the life comes with a monthly payment, a merge lane, and a quiet suspicion that everyone around you is faking it slightly better than you are. You didn't move here. You auditioned for here. And the callback never comes. You just keep paying to stay in the running. The postcard lied, and you knew it would. Here's what they showed you. A convertible on the Pacific Coast Highway, a rooftop pool, a person who looks like they've never once checked a bank balance while crying. Here's what you got. A 2014 sedan with a coffee stain shaped like Florida, a shared pool that closed for maintenance in 2023, and an intimate adversarial relationship with your own budgeting app. The fantasy of LA is that it's a place where dreams come true. The reality is that it's a place where dreams come due. Everyone here is chasing something, a role, a launch, a follower count, a callback, a body, a break. And the city is happy to let you chase it, indefinitely, for a monthly fee. The first thing you notice is the sun. It's genuinely beautiful, relentlessly so, the kind of light that makes even a strip mall look like a memory you'll get nostalgic about. The second thing you notice is that the beautiful light is falling on a lot of people sleeping in tents, and nobody around you seems to see them anymore, and you worry about how quickly you'll stop seeing them too. You came for the industry, or the weather, or the reinvention, the great American promise that you can drive far enough west to become someone new. And LA delivers on that, sort of. You will become someone new. That person will just be extremely tired, slightly in debt, and weirdly good at parallel parking. The city runs on a single, unspoken agreement. Everyone pretends the struggle is temporary. The waiter is between roles. The barista is launching something. The guy at the gym is in a transition period that has lasted by your count 4 years. You nod. They nod. Nobody says the quiet part, which is that for most people, this is the movie. There's no montage coming. This is just the plot. You are free to chase the dream out here. You just have to do it in a market where the median asking rent runs well past $2,000 a month. Before the light hits the palm trees, you don't live in LA, you live in your car. Let's clear something up. You do not live in Los Angeles. You live in a car that is sometimes parked near your apartment. The apartment is where the car rests. You are its emotional support human. Nobody warns you that geography here is measured in time, not distance. A friend lives 20 minutes away, which means 20 minutes at 2 a.m. on a holiday, and 55 minutes at any hour a human being would actually want to see them. You learn to read the freeway the way farmers read the sky. The 405 at 6 p.m. isn't a road, it's a decision to reevaluate the friendship, and the numbers back up the despair. In 2025, the typical LA driver lost about 86 hours per driver sitting in traffic, which put the metro among the most congested cities in the United States. That's more than 2 full work weeks, 2 weeks of your one wild and precious life spent watching brake lights breathe, narrating podcasts to no one, and slowly becoming the kind of person who has opinions about lane discipline. You start planning your entire existence around not moving. You schedule doctor's appointments by proximity, not preference. You decline invitations based on which freeway they'd require. You develop a personal cartography of the city built entirely on avoidance. The surface streets nobody knows, the left turn that saves 11 minutes, the gas station with the good exit. Nobody put that on the tour. Then there's the fuel. You are financing all of this at over $5 a gallon. The LA Metro average sat around $5.39 in early July 2026, while Indiana drivers paid closer to $3 and presumably felt nothing. You have friends in other states who talk about gas the way you talk about the weather, casually, without grief. You have never once filled your tank without doing a small, involuntary equation about what that tank could have been. But here's the part that would surprise the version of you that just moved here. You've gotten good at it. You can shave a commute by instinct. You can eat a full meal, apply lip balm, and take a work call at a dead stop without spilling anything. You have turned a genuinely miserable circumstance into a competence, and some mornings, merging perfectly across 4 lanes, you feel something almost like pride. The city broke you, and you learned to drive through it anyway. That's not nothing. It's just not what the postcard promised. Rent is not an expense, It's a second job. You have a job. Your job has a job. Its job is rent. In Los Angeles, a one-bedroom runs you somewhere north of $2,000 a month, and the responsible advice, spend a third of your income on housing, quietly assumes you're clearing around 6 figures just to do the sensible thing. If you're not, and most people aren't, you don't get to be irresponsible. You just get roommates, plural, in your 30s. In a 2-bedroom, you've emotionally converted into a 3-bedroom by calling the dining nook cozy. The apartment itself is a masterclass in optimistic language. Charming means small. Cozy means smaller. Lots of natural light means no air conditioning, and a west-facing window that turns your bedroom into a kiln by 4 p.m. Vintage character means the plumbing predates the freeway. You tour it in 11 minutes, apply in an hour, and pay a deposit that could have been a used car, because the leasing agent mentioned there were a few other applicants, which may or may not have been 3 ghosts, and the rent is only the entry fee. Parking is extra. A permit to park on your own street is extra. Utilities in a building with no insulation are a seasonal surprise. Renter's insurance, the pet deposit, the amenity fee for a gym with 1 working treadmill facing a wall. You do the math and realize you are paying a premium not for luxury, but for access. The right to stand near the dream and hope some of it rubs off. Here's the trick the city plays. It makes the cost feel like a personal failing. Everywhere else, if you can't afford your life, something is wrong with the price. Here, if you can't afford your life, something is wrong with you. Your hustle, your grind, your manifestation. The rent isn't too high. You just haven't leveled up yet. Any day now, so you cut. You get weirdly, impressively frugal. You know which taco truck gives you dinner for $8 and which grocery run to do at which store on which day. You can price a cart to the dollar from the parking lot. You've turned survival into a skill set nobody gives you a certificate for. And honestly, you should get one, because the people who made it out here mostly just had a head start you were too polite to ask about. At some point, you stop asking whether the rent is worth it and start asking whether anywhere would feel worth it now. That's when the city has you. Everyone here is almost famous. You will never meet more successful people who are technically broke than in Los Angeles. The city is full of them. The screenwriter with a deal that's attached to something. The actor who was this close on a pilot that didn't get picked up. The founder who is pre-revenue, a phrase that in any other city would be pronounced unemployed. Everyone is almost. Everyone is about to. The whole town runs on the future tense. You learn the social code fast, because the code is the point. Nobody asks what you do. They ask what you're working on. Subtle, but crucial. Because what you do implies a fixed reality. And here, reality is a placeholder. You are not a barista. You are a barista right now, which is a completely different thing, spiritually. Everyone honors the fiction because everyone needs it honored back. Networking isn't a thing you do here. It's the medium you swim in. Every coffee is a meeting. Every party is a soft pitch. You meet someone at a friend's birthday, and within 4 minutes you both know each other's follower count, representation status, and current project, without either of you asking directly. It's an ecosystem of gentle, mutual overestimation, and you get good at it. You learn to describe your worst month as a season of building. You are not lying. You are speaking LA. And the wild thing is, it occasionally works. Someone's cousin knows someone. The barista does book the commercial. The break is real often enough to keep everyone believing it's coming for them specifically, which is exactly the amount of hope required to keep 4 million people paying rent on the edge of a dream. The status game is relentless and mostly invisible. It's not about money. Plenty of successful people are drowning. It's about proximity, who you know, what room you were in, whose story you can casually be part of. You catch yourself doing it, mentioning the famous person you stood next to once, letting it land, hating yourself, doing it again. You came out here thinking talent was the currency. It's not. Endurance is. The people who make it are frequently just the ones who could afford to stay in the game longest. A bankroll, a partner with a real job, a family safety net they'd never mention on a podcast about grit. The dream is a lottery that charges rent to keep your ticket active. And you, God help you, are still buying tickets. You tell yourself you're not like the others out here. Then you catch your reflection rehearsing. Optimized, injected, and still exhausted. At some point, in the mirror or the front-facing camera or the harsh light of a casting app selfie, you notice the face. Your face. And the city, which has an opinion about everything, has an opinion about that too. Los Angeles doesn't just want you to succeed, it wants you optimized. Here, the body is a resume and the face is the cover letter, and both are apparently due for revision. You didn't used to think about your jawline. Now you have thoughts. You have a guy, or you know someone who has a guy, and the guy is booked out 3 weeks, which somehow makes you want it more. This isn't a fringe thing, it's an industry, and LA is its capital. The city sits among the country's top med spa hotspots, right there with Miami and New York, and it shows a single LA med spa can pull in somewhere between $850,000 and $2.5 million a year, with Botox and fillers making up more than half of that revenue. That's a lot of foreheads. That's a lot of people deciding quietly that the version of themselves they were born with needed a patch update. And the pitch is genius, because it's framed as self-care. You're not anxious about aging in a town that treats 35 like a countdown clock. You're investing in yourself. You're not insecure. You're maintaining. The consult is $150 just to be told what's wrong, which you will pay, because being told what's wrong by a professional feels more dignified than figuring it out alone at 1 a.m. with a ring light. The cruelest part is that it works, a little, and the little is enough. You look slightly less tired. People notice. You get a booking, a match, a second look. So you go back. Because the thing about optimizing your face is that there is no finish line. The goalposts are the whole point of the business model. You are not buying a result. You are subscribing to a hope. And here's the joke that isn't quite a joke. You can do all of it. The tox, the fillers, the lasers, the fasting, the trainer, the supplements the trainer sells you. You can become the most optimized version of yourself the city has ever produced, and you will still lie awake at 2 a.m. doing rent math with a face that no longer moves in the top third. Optimized, injected, radiant, exhausted. The dream told you that if you fixed the outside, the inside would follow. The outside is fixed now. You're still waiting, alone in a city of 4 million. The loneliness sneaks up on you, because on paper it makes no sense. You are surrounded. There are people everywhere, on the trails, in the coffee shops, at the 11-minute apartment tours. And yet, you can go entire days out here making eye contact with no one you actually know. LA is a lonely city by design, and the design is the car. You don't bump into people. You drive past them, sealed in your metal room, waving vaguely. There's no walkable center where lives collide by accident. Friendship here requires a calendar invite, a freeway calculation, and a mutual agreement to fight traffic for each other, which is, in its way, the truest form of love the city offers. Someone who'll take the 10 for you at 6 p.m. would take a bullet anywhere else. You notice the sprawl does something to time too. You'll meet someone you genuinely click with, exchange numbers, mean it, we should hang out, and then never see them again, not out of malice, but because they live 40 minutes away, and 40 minutes is a relationship-ending distance in a city this diffuse. Whole friendships die of logistics. You mourn people who are technically still alive and only 30 miles east, and the performance never stops, which is its own quiet exhaustion. Everyone's life looks luminous online. The hike, the rooftop, the grateful caption over the good light selfie. You know, because you post the same thing, that the photo was taken between 2 panic attacks and a rent transfer. The whole city is performing a version of a life for an audience of people performing back. It's a hall of mirrors, and everyone's checking their reflection to see if the reflection is booking. So you build your rituals. The one friend you actually call, the taco truck guy who knows your order, the specific stretch of coast, at a specific hour, where the light does the thing it did in the postcard, and for 90 seconds the whole expensive, exhausting bet feels like it might pay off. You cling to those. They're small. They're real. They're the reason you don't leave, yet. At some point you realize you didn't move to a city. You moved to a very sunny, very crowded, very expensive way of being alone. And then the light does the thing. Here's what nobody tells you, because it doesn't fit the bitter version or the brochure version. Some of it is real, not the dream they sold you. A different thing, quieter, that you find by accident. It's a Tuesday, and you're driving home defeated, and you crest a hill on some street you only know because of a detour, and the whole basin opens up beneath you. The grid glittering out to a purple ocean, the mountains gone gold, The light doing the thing the postcard promised and then some. And you feel it in your chest before your brain can price it. This is the thing you can't get in Ohio. This is what the rent is actually buying. You'll have a night like it too. Someone's backyard, string lights, cheap wine, 6 people who 3 years ago were strangers and are now somehow the closest thing you've had to family since you left home. Somebody's guitar, a dog, the specific, impossible warmth of an outdoor evening in January, in short sleeves, while your friends back east send you photos of their driveways. And you'll think, with total clarity, I would do this again, knowing everything. I would still come. That's the part that makes the rest of it land so hard. It'd be easier if LA were simply a scam. You could just be angry and leave. But it isn't simply a scam. It gives you actual things. A body of work you're proud of, a chosen family, a version of yourself braver than the one who arrived, a coastline that will ruin every other sunset for the rest of your life. It just charges you everything you have for them, and then keeps sending invoices. You are not a fool for staying. That's the uncomfortable truth. You got something real. It just cost more than it should have, in a currency they don't print. Years, certainty, the version of your life where you owned a house and slept without doing math. The light does the thing, and then you drive down the hill, back into the traffic, back to the rent, and the moment closes behind you like it never happened. But you know it happened. That's the problem. That's why you stay. The math never works, and you stay anyway. Every year you run the numbers, and every year the numbers say leave. Move to a state where gas is $3, and a house isn't a fantasy, and traffic is a thing that happens to other people. You have the spreadsheet. You've had it for a while. It's very persuasive. You will not act on it. Because leaving LA isn't a financial decision. It's a confession. It's admitting the callback isn't coming. That the thing you drove west for, the reinvention, the break, the montage, was maybe always just a beautiful, well-lit way of avoiding a smaller, realer life somewhere cheaper. And nobody wants to be the one who quit right before it would have happened. So you stay one more year. You always stay one more year. The city knows this about you. It counts on it. That's the real product Los Angeles sells. Not sunshine, not fame, not the abs. Hope, metered monthly, at market rate. It keeps the ticket active. It lets you believe the next audition, the next launch, the next optimized version of your face is the one that flips the whole equation from suffering into story. And the cruelest, kindest thing about the place is that it's true just often enough. Someone always wins, that the belief never fully dies. So you sit in the traffic. You pay the rent that eats a job's worth of your life. You get the little injections and the big disappointments. You perform the luminous life for the audience performing back. And every so often, the light does the thing, and you remember why. And it's almost enough. Almost. About to. Any day now. You came to Los Angeles to become someone. And you did. You became someone who can survive Los Angeles. It's just that the certificate for that, like everything else out here, is on back order, and you're still, somehow, willing to wait for it in traffic. Welcome to the dream. Parking's extra. That's your life in LA, sunburnt, optimized, and still merging. Subscribe for more of the American dream, itemized, with all the fees they left off the brochure.